Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're not supposed to say good evening, Peter. I was trying not to say please sit down. Well, welcome to St Paul's Church, the Acts Church. I'm Michael Burton. I'm the current chair of the STR, and I'm going to hand over immediately to our president, Timothy West.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to this lovely church, and what a gorgeous summary it is for a change. Wonderful. So, lovely to see you all here, and welcome to what is in fact the 75th birthday of the Society for Theatre Research. This was held on the 15th of June 1948 in the war-torn Old Vic Theatre, and those present were there at the time to decide to bring together an enthusiasm for a community of... I must put my glasses on. Oh gosh, who is it? It's about this evening. So yes, enthusiasm for the community of theatre of concerns related to the best interests of the living theatre in this country. So that's tonight, and tonight we are of course also celebrating the 25th anniversary, the 25th birthday of the Society's annual book prize, designed to encourage the writing and the publication of books on British related theatre. I will now pass you over to Howard Loxton, who is chair and has been chair of the judges for so many Society's prize. Howard, please.
Thank you, Tim, and good evening, everybody. Despite my elderly appearance, I wasn't at that old big meeting when the STR started. My own theatrical baptism began a year later as a boy actor at the Gallic Theatre in Lichfield, and it was many decades before I discovered STR. Is that better? Decided. I started attending STR lectures, and it was then that Jack Redding, former STR Louis, discovered me, and through a mutual actor friend, discovered I had a career in publishing as well. He taught me to take this role over from him, and I've not regretted it, thanks to the contribution of the hundreds of eminent critics, academics, and theatre practitioners who've given their services as judges and presenters. And of course, the authors and publishers of the 1,200 books we've had to read. The Society formally thanks all of them, and I've been lucky enough to meet them. I'll soon be past my sell-by date, so if you'd like to take over from me, the committee would love to hear from you. In awarding the Theatre Book Prize, we're looking for the best books about theatre, not literary studies of text, student manuals, or details of film stars' private lives, though we do sometimes get them. People even send us novels. We do welcome books on every aspect of theatre and every theatrical genre. Entries have ranged widely from when asked by the directors of our National Theatre, two of which have won the prize, to biographies of minor actors researched by their descendants. And there have also been multiple studies related to Shakespeare, books about marionettes, theatre building, lighting and sound, and applied theatre, but not perhaps enough that looked to the future. When in the past I tried to skim through all the entries of the year, I was told it was boring. So instead, you can see them all for yourselves laid out on the table back to back by the bar. Of course, 25 years has not been without complaints. That not enough women won, for instance. Well, we've had a pretty level gender balance among judges over the years, and we can't control what publishers publish or choose to enter. Then there's the complaint that I'm anti-academic. I'm not, or I wouldn't be involved with STR. I've been surprised how frequently it is the academic judge who rules out an academic title as badly written or an unaltered thesis complete with its repetitions, or sometimes finding a book, a publication of useful research data that would be better available in some other way, rather than from an academic press at a price affordable only by a very well-funded library. The judges are totally independent. I don't get a vote, and some years their choices wouldn't have been my one. This year, the judges are critic Cindy Marcolino, dance activist and historian Jennifer Thorpe, and actor and countertenor William Purefoy. That's the first time we've had an opera world represented. They announced their shortlist last month, naming these books, some of whose authors are with us tonight. That list is An Actor's Life in 12 Productions by Oliver Fred Davis, published by Book Guild, But Will You Get a Laugh by Kate Crean, published by the Society itself. Inside the Rehearsal Room by Robert Marsden, published by Method and Drama, Pinter and Stoppard by Kelly Perloff, also from Method and Drama, and The Playwright's Manifesto by Paul Sillett, from Method and Drama. And finally, The Club on the Edge of Town by Alan Lane, from Salamander Street. Now, I'm going to invite the judges to tell us about those shortlist titles, each taking 2 of them, and also a couple of other titles that each of them wants to mention. I first introduce Jennifer Thorpe. Jennifer.
Thank you very much, Howard, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First off, may I confirm the many congratulations due to the STR for awarding this annual book prize and encouraging new writing. In connection with that, I'd like to share with you 2 books from our shortlist, and then add a few words about 3 others which also impressed me. But Will It Get a Laugh? The Life of Doris Hare in 3 acts is by Doris's daughter Kate Crean. As the title implies, Doris Hare, who was born in 1905, would be remembered mainly as a comic actress. But the book opens, that's Act 1, with her early years in her family's Portable, one of those amazing travelling theatres of the early 1900s. Each night offered a different programme, usually a melodrama followed by a comic farce and variety turns to cover scene changes. It provided a superb training, and Doris absorbed it all before joining a touring company of juvenile performers as a versatile dancer, singer and actor. She was also blessed with a perfect sense of comic timing, which she never lost and which would underpin her entire career. Not surprisingly, she soon moved on to the London theatres, that's Act 2, appearing during the 1930s in revues by C.B. Cochrane and Noel Coward. Later in life, Act 3, she worked with the Royal Shakespeare Company and the National Theatre in plays by Pinter and Shaw, and in less serious roles for Alan Bennett, while also creating notable characters for television. The 2 things I admire about this biography are the sheer grit and skill with which Doris reinvented herself throughout a very long career. She was over 90 when she retired. And the affection with which Kate Crean tells her mother's story, from family photographs, theatre and newspaper archives, and Doris's own memories. The result captures an extraordinary theatrical personality. Another book from our shortlist is The Playwright's Manifesto by Paul Sirrett, designed to encourage and guide prospective new playwrights. This is far from being a "you must do it this way" manual, but instead challenges writers to start by thinking deeply and honestly about why they want to write and what their own strengths and weaknesses are. Once past that hurdle, Sirrett's message is very clear. Just go for it. Trust your potential and start writing. I particularly like his two-line comment, which first appears early on, but continues to resound right through the book. He says, "It takes the strength to write as you really are, but without it you will just be another ordinary playwright. Don't be ordinary." Two Shakespeare-related titles that I want to mention are Lois Potter's Shakespeare and the Actor, published by OUP, for its assertion that actors must not only develop the right skills and energy to enthuse their audiences, but also communicate whatever it is in Shakespeare's work that has directly inspired them as actors. And then there's Andrew Hilton's Shakespeare on the Factory Floor, published by Nick Hearn, which describes plays that Hilton directed in the old tobacco factory theatre in Bristol. It appeals to me for his very careful exploration of how to make Shakespeare's lines convincing for non-specialist audiences. By contrast, The Funniest Man in London by Anthony Binns, published by Egerton, is a meticulously researched record of the zany and often subversive comedy sketches of the Edwardian satirist Henry Pellissier and the Lord Chamberlain's attempted censorship of his work, which never quite worked. Although Pellissier's own world is lost now, its absurdist and anti-establishment humour has a place in a long tradition from Jonathan Swift to Monty Python and beyond. I shall now hand over to my colleague on the judging panel, Billy Purefoy. He's well known as a performer in opera, concerts and recitals, both in the UK and further afield. And in London you may well have seen him at Shakespeare's Globe in performance and elsewhere. Billy.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer. My 20-minute lecture, is going to take the same format as Jennifer's, which is that I'm going to discuss two of the shortlisted books, and then I'm going to bang on about three others that I also liked, but couldn't persuade everyone to put on the shortlist. So, the first of the two shortlisted books I am talking about is An Actor's Life in 12 Productions by Oliver Ford Davies, from Book Guild. This was a great read, which I loved from the very beginning, largely because of its engaging, almost conversational style, but also because of its honesty and humility. I found it extremely saddening to read in such illuminating and erudite terms of the almost entire extinction of the world of regional repertory theatre, a loss which seems simultaneously irretrievable and tragic. The way Oliver describes his early career and the development of his craft speaks of opportunities never likely to be available again. But luckily, he goes on to fill one with hope for the future, the feeling that theatre, whilst clearly compromised on a national level, isn't dead yet. His love for the whole experience is hugely infectious, and he manages to pepper it all with other famous people and wonderful experiences without descending into a list of anecdotes and name-dropping. He is in no way shy of making it clear that it is a struggle even on the way to the top, and that the rewards are manifold, even if few of them are monetary. There are also lovely insights into how productions work, how actors develop roles, how plays are living entities which organically change in rehearsal, and so much more. Also shortlisted and written in an inclusive and personable style, Pinter and Stoppard, A Director's View by Carey Perloff from Methuen in Bloomsbury, is an absorbing exploration of Carey's wonderful working relationships with two of this country's most influential playwrights. As a director, she has been fortunate to have had many collaborations with both of these dramaturgical powerhouses, and talks in detail about the rehearsal processes in terms of their input, but also their different styles and approaches. She talks of their huge mutual respect and admiration for one another, and clearly has a deep affinity with them both, having, as they do, Jewish and English connections, and she explores the influence of that in great detail. Now I'd like to talk about three others that I particularly enjoyed, which didn't make it onto the shortlist. The Red Letter at the Music Hall by David Huxley and David James from Palgrave brings us a reviewer's impression of the intriguing world of music hall entertainment between 1902 and 1914, an area about which, I must confess, I knew virtually nothing. It is fascinating to discover what was available for theatre entertainment in this era and just how popular it was. The Red Letter was a family magazine, one of whose most regular sections was entertainment, with articles about performances attended by the thus far anonymous Music Hall Commissioner, someone our compilers deemed to be a reasonable representation of societal opinion. Many different varieties of acts are explored, some proponents of which have all but disappeared in other historical sources, and the analysis is interesting enough for this not just to be a compilation of archival press cuttings. An Actor's Alphabet by Julie Hesmondhalgh from Nick Hearn Books seems to me to be a crucial book for all actors young and old. It is relentlessly optimistic, and she has a lovely writing voice which makes you feel that she is a friend telling you really important and helpful advice you are glad to receive. She speaks about every aspect of being an actor, or any kind of artist pretty much, on topics ranging from mental health issues to dealing with fallow periods, self-image to jealousy, line learning to rehearsal attitudes. She's also unashamedly outspoken and not a little political, and talks passionately and, to my mind, eminently sensibly about the state of the arts and education and lots of things that don't and many that could help this country's development in all of these areas. Rather than just being moany, she cites things that work and suggests new approaches that could be adopted. But ultimately, it is a book rammed with excellent tips on a positive and healthy approach to a long and fruitful career as an actor. All of this having been said, as a singer I could scarcely ignore the magnificent beast of a book that is the Oxford Handbook of Shakespeare and Music. It's not a light holiday read, but more a compendium of all manner of wisdom about music in Shakespearean performance. Having been involved in a good deal of this myself, I must confess to being quite fascinated by this tome. It is a beautifully produced, meticulously curated collection of contributions from scholars, musicologists and practitioners in the field of Shakespearean music and in pretty much any context. I can't help but notice that Thomas Linley is on the wall over here, who wrote, for instance, quite a lot of Shakespearean music. A little bit of insight. Contextually helpful. There are people in this book that I have worked with and some of whom I haven't even heard of, but it is all wonderful stuff discussing period performance, period music in modern performance, modern music in period performance, music inspired by Shakespeare for ballets, music through the ages written for plays, ranging from Purcell through Finzi, Quilter, Gurney, all the way to Tippett and Adairs. I'm not really a scholar, but this seems to me to be a pretty definitive book. And now I'd like to hand over to Cindy Marcellino.
Church has been such a wonderful adventure. I've learned so much and I'm so grateful to everyone who submitted their books for us to read. It was so difficult to create a shortlist and we found ourselves disagreeing to the point where we had to halt our decisions and reconvene. The thing is, we were spoiled for choice, and coming from such disparate backgrounds, we were all looking for something different. But I feel like the final shortlist has a little bit of all of us in it, from the performance side, to the academic, and the critic. You can't hear me? No? Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, so I was saying, the final shortlist has a little bit of all of us. So I was struck by so many books, but one that stuck out, and I immediately fell in love with, was Alan Lane's The Club at the Edge of Town, which is published by Salamander Street. I of course knew of Alan and his company, Snow Glow, but I didn't know the extent of their activity during the pandemic. Even when theatres went dark and we didn't quite know whether we'd survive as an industry, Alan's focus was to keep helping his community. I didn't know he'd written a book about the whole experience, I'm sorry, until I had it in my hands last year. It's captivating. Alan's writing beckons you on, telling you a tale of resilience and strength, of a love for theatre craft, but also for the people who make it. It's a beautiful book, and a precise record of how theatre bent and changed during such difficult times. Ultimately, I think it's a book about devotion to theatre and the community it serves. I devoured it, and I honestly truly recommend it. And if we were given star ratings, because I'm a critic and I'm very against star ratings, you would get the whole sky from me. It's a book of its time and one I am so glad we shortlisted. Another one that I really enjoyed was Robert Marsden's Inside the Rehearsal Room, which is published by the amazing Methuen Drama. So I consider myself a very curious person, but I would never ask a director if I can pop in and see how they work. Just because I don't think it's my place as a lover of theatre, but especially as a critic, to intrude. His book opens the door and explores a director's work with interviews as well as hands-on tips and tricks. It's very fascinating. So a few more that I would like to mention that unfortunately didn't make the cut, but I personally loved, are about Shakespeare musicals, which is my personality. So I particularly enjoyed Alex McCanlochy, Staging Touch in Shakespeare's England, which is published by Oxford University Press. And I also love the Shakespearean Death Arts, edited by William E. Engel and Grant Williams, and published by Palgrave. The first one is really eye-opening regarding intimacy and the body, and how they're viewed in the canon. And the last one is a very interesting analysis of death in Shakespeare, and especially in Hamlet, which is one of my favourite plays. So the last one that I want to mention is called National Identity and the British Musical, and it's written by Grace Barnes and again published by Methuen. So in the past years, I'm sure we all know, we've seen a resurgence in homegrown musicals, which kind of started with the worldwide success of Six, and most recently, Operation Mincemeat. The book ties the genre to the British public and the relationship to the works. If you love musicals, I would definitely recommend it. So, as a conclusion, it's been a pleasure to be involved in this. And, too often we think of theatre as simply something that happens on a stage. And I don't think we realise what it takes for a production to work, or what it takes to for the industry to grow. So, thank you. I'm now passing it back on to Howard.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, all three of you. You've done a great job this year. It's been a delight to work with you. Now, there's been no point holding things up any longer. We want to know who you are, and I'd like to ask our president to tell you. No, I have it here for you. I have it here for you. Thank you.
Right, the Society for Theatre Research Theatre Book Prize for books published in 2022 is awarded to An Actor's Life in 12 Productions by Oliver Ford Davies.
thank you very much. I'm amazed, of course, particularly with such a strong entry. And it was very interesting to hear the books that didn't get selected. I was particularly pleased to hear they all getting a mention. The only book I've actually managed to read is Will It Get the Laugh? About Doris Hare, which I must confess I approached with some caution, but was absolutely riveted. It's an extraordinarily interesting book, particularly her life before the First World War in South Wales. And I was also very interested in the title, But Will It Get a Laugh? Which sounds rather cheap at first glance, but it actually is central to an actor's craft. An actor comes off the stage after a tragedy or a serious play, many of which I've done, and when asked how did it go, they can only say, well, the audience seemed to be listening, or didn't seem to be listening very much. But with a comedy, it's more brutal. You come off and you say, well, it was a very good house, they laughed a lot, or no, not a very good house, they didn't laugh very much. It reminds me of a saying of Peter Brook. Somebody said to him after his production of King Lear with Paul Schofield, I wasn't very moved by your production, Mr. Brook. And Peter Brook said, where on your ticket does it say you have to be moved by King Lear? I've always wondered about that. It seems to me a get-out-of-jail-free card. But I do think it applies in a way to comedy. I remember seeing a production of Midsummer Night's Dream done by Jonathan Miller, who knows a great deal about comedy, and the very experienced actor playing Bottom, the night I saw it, didn't get a single laugh. And I thought, I do think on your ticket it should be said that Bottom should get the occasional laugh. Going back to my book, which I spent a lot of time trying to find a publisher. Very early on in my career, 20 years ago, I got a book into this prize, and my director, Jonathan Kent, said, oh, I know a very powerful literary agent. We'll put it to him. And he said, well, it's very niche. And this word niche has followed me around. And there is a certain truth about theatre books. I don't mean biographies of famous actors, famous directors, or famous playwrights. I mean books about theatre. And they have become more and more niche. I tried this book, for a year on various publishers, some of whom I'd worked with before, and they said, oh, you love the book, but can't sell it, won't sell, and probably won't. They're probably right. Life has got much tougher since the pandemic in trying to sell books on theatre. One very eminent publisher said, no, we do books by playwrighs, but not by actors. As if actors would only write, interesting anecdotes about what Johnny Depp said to Jennifer Aniston when she changed her hair. I think actors are capable of a bit more than that. So I'm very grateful to the Book Guild for finally taking the book on and paying for it in entirety, I may say. So it wasn't a 50-50 split. So I did eventually get it on. I'm very grateful for them, and I'm very grateful to the Society for Theatre Research, which I have belonged to for many years. And if anybody is going to save theatre books from being niche, it's going to be the STR. So thank you.
Delight to present the prize to someone who's worked so closely with STR. Now, I will just hand this back to our chairman, Michael.
Before I say anything else, I would like to say on behalf of the Society, thank you to Howard and our 3 judges for all the work. The work that's gone into the Theatre Book Prize for 2023. I think it's easy to underestimate the amount of effort required to read volumes under such conditions, and we are truly grateful for their labour and input. And of course, I'd like to thank our President, Timothy West, for presenting this year's award. Reaching the age of 75, as the members of the Society will tell you, is no small draw. Many societies appear, flourish and then wither through lack of commitment, focus, and perhaps also from a lack of the collegiality to which our President referred in his opening remarks. The STR suffers from none of these things. The members, that is you, all offer the support which has enabled the Society to develop and are responsible for the Society's achievements, which over 75 years have been considerable. And it has played a significant role in the world of theatre and theatre research over the decades. I'm not going to dwell on these here. Secretary Brianna Robertson-Kirkland's chronology, which is in your booklet, shows how significant the STR achievements have been. It has been pointed out to me that one of the achievements left off, the last one, is the Society's adoption relationship, whatever, with Zoom, which I'm sure has been fraught for many at different times, but nevertheless something that is now part of the scene. As I said at the AGM, all seems fair except fair for the future. But is it? The danger of such an anniversary as this is that too much time is spent on honouring past glories. It is the case that the Society was born in the hope of the years after World War II, when there was an ambition for high culture for everyone. But in fact, the Society is now facing a range of challenges, many referred to and addressed by my immediate predecessor, Simon Sladen. They include the desire to involve, of all of us, to involve more people, more disciplines and more subjects, and to embrace work that belongs to our core function of British theatre history in its broadest sense, work that has been sidelined or neglected for reasons of prejudice, of a lack of fashionability, or sometimes simply the lack of skills to undertake meaningful research in those areas. And we ignore these demands at our peril. While I think we would all balk at the idea of making ourselves relevant for the sake of relevance, if we cease to serve the theatrical community to which we belong, then the Society will wither and die. And hand in hand with this issue lies our financial model, a subscription base which is not professional, that is, no one is required to be a member in order to carry on their profession. We're not alone with these problems. They affect all societies with a structure like ours and are caused by a variety of factors. Principal among them is the fact that much of the material which the societies publish is now made freely available. The Society, of course, needs to change if it is to continue, it must to survive. And the trick for us will be to change without losing our heritage, to retain all that is good about the STR while embracing new thoughts and ideas. In thinking about these priorities and how we might address them in our 75th year, the Societies Committee has from a wide range of ideas. I will forbore to mention some of them, but we might just refer to the cookery book. We focused on 3 things. Firstly, we're going to attempt to increase our younger member, the number of younger members, by offering our 75 one-year memberships free to graduate students, to early career researchers, and indeed to those who are new to theatre research, who have not previously been members of the Society. Naturally, we hope these memberships will be renewed at the end of the year, but apart from the statistical desire to increase the membership, it also offers the possibility of expanding the Society's research base. Secondly, we have selected the consolidation and development of the practitioner grants, one of the major successes of the Society's COVID activities, as our main fundraising project. It became clear early in the crisis that the possibilities to continue doing research were severely compromised. Libraries, archives and collections were closed and travel ceased. These same restrictions catastrophically affected the wider theatre world, and the practitioner grants were developed to facilitate British and British-related theatre projects. After COVID, the society has managed to keep these awards in place, but further funding will be needed to assure the future. And last but not least, the New Researchers Network will again be a guest editor for another number of Theatre Notebook, which will follow on from their other successful activities, and there will be focus on the activities of the New Researchers Network. And you'll be hearing more from all of this on these things in due course. And we will be reporting our progress in these areas at the end of our 75th year, when we'll be meeting at a conference in Bristol, staging the university, the home of one of the world's great theatre collections. It will be held in the second half of July 2024, and this will be an open subject conference, one without a specific theme, so that all members of the society might have the opportunity to participate and to mark our 75th birthday year with a flourish. Thank you. We're now going to have a slight pause, and I hope you will recharge your glasses, and then we're going to have Jed Wentz. You can see you have his text in front of you, and we'll be showing the fruits of some of his research into historical acting.
is enhanced society internationally. Yeah, well, yes. Next month, coming
If there be any in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar's, who hear my say that Brutus' love to Caesar was no less than his, if then that friend demand why Brutus rose against Caesar, this is my answer. Not that I love Caesar less, that I love Rome more. Had you rather Caesar living and die all slaves, than that Caesar were dead and live all free men? And Caesar loved me. I weep upon him. As he was fought, I rejoiced. As he was valiant, I honored him. But as he was ambitious, I slew him. There are tears for his love, joy for his fortune, honor for his valor, and death for his ambition. Who's here so base that would be a bondsman? Very speak, for him have I offended. Who's here so rude that would not be a Roman? If any, speak, for him have I offended. Who's here so fine that will not love his country? If any, speak, for him have I offended. I pause for no reply. None. Then none have I offended. I have done no more to Caesar than you shall do to Brutus. The question of his death is enrolled in the Capitol. His glory not extended wherein it was worthy, nor his offences and faults, for which he suffered death. Here comes his body. I mark Anthony, who, though he had no hand in his death, shall receive the benefit of his dying, of placing the Commonwealth, as which of you shall not? With this I depart, that as I slew my best love for the good of Rome, I have the same dagger for myself, when it shall please my when music, heavenly made, was young, ere yet in early Greece she sung, the passions oft to hear her shell thronged around her magic cell, exulting, trembling, raging, fading, possessed beyond the muses, painting by curves they felt the glowing mind, disturbed, delighted, raised, refined, till once descent, when all were fired, filled with fury, wrath inspired, from the sporting motors round they seized her instruments of sound, and as they oft had heard apart sweet lessons of her forceful art, each, for madness ruled the hour, would prove his own expressive power. First, fear, his hand, its skill to try, amid the chords, bewildered lay, and back recoiled. He knew not why. He had the sound itself at play. Next, anger rushed, his eyes on fire, enlightens of his secret stings. In one rude flash, he struck the lyre and swept with hurried hand the strings. With woeful measure, one despair, no silent sounds his grief beguiled. A solemn, strange and mingled air was sad by fits, by stars 'twas wild. But thou, O Hope, with eyes so fair, what was thy delighted measure? Still it whispered promised pleasure, and bade the lovely scenes at distance pale. Still with her touch the strain prolonged, and from the rocks, the woods, the vale, she called on echo still through all the song. And where her sweetest theme she chose, a soft, responsive voice was heard at every close. And hope enchanted smiled and waved her golden hair. And longer had she sung, but with a frown, revenge impatient rose. He threw his blood-stained sword in thunder down, and with a withering look, the war denouncing trumpet took, and blew a blast so loud and dread were ne'er prophetic sounds so full of woe. And ever and anon he beat the doubling drum with furious heat. And though sometimes each dreary paused in me, dejected pity at his side, her soul subduing voice appeared. Yet still he kept his wild unaltered mien, while each strange ball of sight seemed bursting from his head. Thy numbers, jealousy, to naught were fixed, sad proof of thy distressful state. Of differing themes the veering song was mixed, and now it courted love, now raving called on hate. With eyes of rain, as one love of peace, and lonely music. In hollow murmurs, I obey. But oh, how often was it sprightly of tone, when cheerfulness, a nymph of healthiest hue, her bow across her shoulder flung her buskins gemmed with morning dew, blew an inspiring air that day and thicket throng, the hunter's call to farm and riot grown. The oak-crowned sisters and the chaste-eyed queen, satyrs and sylvan boys were seen peeping from forth their happy screen. Proud exercise rejoiced to hear, and sport leapt up and seized his beechen spear. Last came joy's ecstatic cry, he with ivy crown advancing first to the lively pipe his hand addressed. But soon he saw the brisk awakening viol, whose sweet entrancing voice he loved the best. They would have thought, who heard the strain, they saw in Tempe's vale her native maids amidst the festal sounding shades, to some unwearied minstrel dancing, while as his fine fingers kissed the strings, love, framed with mirth, a gay fantastic round, loose were her tresses seen, her zone unbound. And he, amidst his frolic play, as if he would the charming airy pay, shook thousand odors from his beauty's wings. O music, sphere-descended maid, friend of pleasure, wisdom's aid, why, goddess, why to us denied lay'st thou thy ancient lyre aside? As in that loved Athenian bar you learned an all-commanding power, thy mimic solo nymph and dear, and well recall what then it heard. Where is thy native simple heart, devote to virtue, fancy, art? Arise as in that elder time, warm, energetic, chaste, sublime. Thy wonders in that godlike age fill thy recording sister's page. 'Tis said, and I believe the tale, thy humblest breed could more prevail, and more of strength divine.